Hello everyone, I'm David Graham along with Chris Cannon of the La Follette Press and Patrick Peebley of the Volunteer Times. Gentlemen, welcome to today's half roundtable discussion. We're going to talk about the playoffs, upcoming playoffs in which the Cougars are involved in. But you know, before we go any further, and we might want to touch on this, we've had a lot of speculation just, about Anderson County being the champions, Campbell County being the champions. But all the research I've done tells me that Campbell County is co-champions with Anderson County. What do you guys think about that, Chris?
I agree with that. I mean, I've talked to Justin Price, I've talked to numerous people, and they both say that the TSSAA tiebreaker only goes to the playoff system.
Right.
So I think it's going to be stuck to where they're co-champs. I mean,
They are co-champs.
Agreed, because, okay, I know they're going to make the argument, we beat y'all head to head.
Right.
We beat Powell.
What about Powell?
We beat Powell. It's a 9-1 record. It's just like, and they might argue this is apples and oranges, they might not. But let's look at the SEC.
Right.
Even before we had
The
SEC championship, there was a year that Alabama and Tennessee were both SEC champions, and Alabama wound up with the tiebreaker that allowed them to go to the Sugar Bowl, but they were still both SEC champions. Right. Justin Price and I have talked about it, like you said. He tells me we're co-champions. Good enough for me.
Well, and I talked to Coach Price Wednesday, and he told me, he said, well, David, he said, it's like this. He said, if they had won the district, he said, I would have, called to congratulate them and everything, and been fine with it. He said, we both have the same record. He said, yeah, they won against us. He said, but we beat a team they didn't beat. He said, so what do you do? But, if you talk to Jesse Smithy or somebody else, they all claim that Campbell County and Anderson County.
I was going to say, on Twitter,
the authority
after the game, everybody was in on it, and Austin Price stepped in and said, no, Campbell County's district co-champs.
Right. But
Austin Price, pretty well known, pretty widely respected sports journalist.
Right.
What's in it for him to come in and lie about it?
Well, he's not going to.
And it's the same way with Steve Spurrier at Duke. He did it with Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Butch Jones did it. I mean, there's always going to be co-champs, whether they like it or not.
You have it. You have it. That's it. But
I'll preface that with saying, got some really good friends down there. I'm not trying to step on their toes and make them mad by saying this,
no.
But right's right, and some of them got a little bit out of shape. I'd said it, but I.
But this guy here, he thrives on people being out of shape. Look at him.
I love that kind of stuff.
And I would even say that we have some Campbell County kids playing down there. I mean, it's been like that in the past. So, I mean, I think it's
Well, and when they went down there and played and everything, nobody complained. Nobody said nothing.
Yeah.
We just congratulated them and everything. But and going even further, and I think that a lot of fans will tell you if you talk to them. I mean, a lot of the guys in the media will tell you. Next year you're probably going to see Campbell County going up and Anderson County going down because they're going to lose a lot of their offensive line. They're going to lose a lot of kids down there. I think it's something like 18 seniors they got on this year's team. They're going to lose them.
Yeah, and obviously Campbell County's going to lose a couple of key calls.
But they've been playing freshmen.
Peyton Webb has been starting.
Yeah.
Big Mike.
That kid's a machine.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
And when you look at it, Campbell County, I think on offense is only going to lose one starter, and that's Corey Phillips.
Yeah.
The team that scored the most points in school history this year is this team. I mean, this has been the team of first, I like to call it.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's not just been Corey Phillips. It's been Corey Phillips, some games, but it's been Preston Miller. He won the game for us last Friday at Powell. And,
here's what Corey Phillips does that you don't look at and see right
off. He's a hard matchup.
Well, he draws a lot of double coverage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When he draws that double coverage, Torres is open, or Miller is open, or Elkins is open, or Paul Cordell, when they line him up out there, is open.
And I would even be willing to say that Corey Phillips has been one of our better blockers this year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
because he's taken the defense away from those guys that have been catching the majority of their passes, I think.
And, on the other side of the ball, he's played some pretty good defense as well.
I've seen it from I get to look at it from different perspectives. I've coached, I've done that. One thing you teach your wide receivers when you coach, if you're not in the play, you make sure you take at least one defensive back out of that.
Well, take your man out of the
And in
equation.
Corey's case, he kind of gets to take two out.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I was telling some kids, I say kids, they're younger than me, they're adults that play for me on the semi-pro team. This is what you do as a receiver when you're not catching the ball.
Right. Take him out. Well, guys, this Friday the Cougars will be in the playoffs. But before we get to them, Cherokee has to travel to Anderson County. Who you got in that game, Patrick?
Well, you know what? AC's a good, we talked about them, all that. They're a darn good football team.
Yeah.
Cherokee, not saying they're a bad team, but they're going to roll into Anderson County.
And they're 2A.
They're going to roll in, and they're going to roll in against a kid who's got a tremendous line, who's getting 300-400 yards a game running the ball, and Matthew Fox.
Right.
Actually, after the Gibbs-Campbell County game, we stopped at the Shoney's in Clinton. I talked to several of the AC players. I talked to Matthew Fox. And he's not a big kid. You can tell he works hard in the gym.
Right.
He's a hard runner, and he's going to be hard to stop for Cherokee.
And I think that's going to be the same way. I've not seen much from Cherokee. I've not
Yeah.
looked at him much, but I really do think my Fox is going to be the difference maker in this one, and possibly Hicks. I mean,
Right.
if they get in a bunch, he can still throw the ball. So
Right.
I think
Hicks
he's
is an
gonna-
outstanding athlete, and
He's not afraid to tuck it and run.
no,
Yeah.
and he's one of the. He's like I said, I'll give credit where due. He's one of the great inspirational stories of this football season.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
he's been out there doing it, and a good athlete, and I think Anderson County has their starters out in the second half in that game.
And he wasn't even a quarterback, was he?
No.
Before the wreck. So that's what makes it even more impressive for me.
That he came in and took over quarterback because
Yeah.
he has to lead the offense.
Okay, up next now, everybody talks about Campbell County having a tough draw. Oak Ridge, they've got to travel to East Hamilton. How you guys see that game, Chris?
That's going to be a tough one. That's definitely.
You think that maybe Oak Ridge will come back home with a loss?
They could. I mean, you got to look at Henderson, the quarterback, Jalen Henderson. He wasn't a quarterback before either, right?
No, he was
a
not.
receiver. But he's not throwing an interception this year
Right.
at quarterback, and he's thrown over 20 touchdowns. I mean, that's pretty impressive for me for nobody that's started as a
Nobody's
quarterback
picked
before
him.
this year. Yeah.
And he's throwing the ball.
Yeah.
And the thing on him though is he throws better on the run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you let him loose, he'll find his man.
But if you sit back and play base defense,
Yeah, if you keep him in that pocket, which I don't know how East Hamilton's going to play him, but I'm sure they played somebody like him down there in Chattanooga.
And I think that's
have
what
they not
Henderson-
played? Is that not a regular season rematch? Did Oak Ridge not play East Hamilton in the regular season?
I don't know. I didn't
They
check.
played a Chattanooga area team. I just don't remember which one.
Yeah,
Chattanooga area schools play good football.
yeah,
You got down there, you got Ooltewah, Saudi Daisy, Signal Mountain, South Pittsburgh's in that general area. East Hamilton's a young school. Cleveland's down there. A lot of good football's played down there. But I'll say this. To me, Oak Ridge is sort of the standard in football in East Tennessee, at least in our section of it, not up towards DB. I think they probably will come home with a win if they don't leave points on the field like they did against AC.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Against AC, I think that they realized that Henderson could throw better on
Yeah.
the run, and they really took that away from him in the second half and sort of shut that offense
Mhm.
down, and that really affected.
See,
them.
my power was out for the first half, so I didn't get to see the first half. I watched the second half, I'm like, man, this kid, I remember him being a little bit better when he played Campbell County.
Yeah.
It's like you said, they
They
brought
boxed him
back
in.
into that base defense, and he was stuck in the pocket.
And we talked about Tyler Hicks being a story too, but Henderson's one as well. He played the entire basketball season with a torn ACL.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Had surgery in April and was able to make it back for this season. So I
That's
think
impressive.
another-
It's
crazy.
ACL injuries are usually, to get back to full speed, it's a 2-year rehab.
Right.
Even on the college and NFL level where you have great training staffs.
Alrighty. Okay, now the game everybody's probably going to be at this Friday night is going to be Gibbs comes into Campbell County. Now we went down there, a hostile environment, but I made the statement when I finally got there. I had to call my crew. They had to talked me in, and I said, well, no wonder Kenny Chesney's not been back. He can't find a place. But anyway, it was a small, dinky little place, but nice field, but it was a hostile environment. How do you think Gibbs is going to fare coming up here to El Hope Dawson?
It's going to be a tough game for Campbell County. It really is. And I think the triple option, obviously, everybody's had trouble with that this year, especially the past 3 games for Gibbs.
And Gibbs is hot.
Yeah. I mean, to me, when I look at Gibbs, I think that Campbell County game was like the POW game for us last year.
Mhm.
Because we realized in that game that, hey, we can beat some people.
Right.
And I think when we come in there 5-1 at Gibbs, and they played us to a 1-touchdown
Yeah.
game, I think they realized, hey, we can beat some people, and I think they really come on hot here at the end of the season.
Yeah, with Gibbs, I mean, you've got to play just hard-nosed defense on that option,
And you've got to be disciplined.
and you've got to get the turnover, because the option, they're going to fumble.
You've got 3 guys you've got a key on, and you've got to be disciplined.
They're going to fumble the ball. It's a high turnover offense. It's the nature of it. You got to make sure when they fumble it, you recover it, not them.
Right.
And the good thing about playing a team like Gibbs, if we can jump up with a 2-touchdown lead, they struggle with the comeback.
Well,
Yeah.
wait a minute, though. Now, if you guys remember, and Campbell County came out in the second half down there, what'd they do? They went up 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and they
But what
came back.
Gibbs do? What'd they do?
They fought right back.
They fought right back. Those little Eagles they'll fight you all
Oh,
night
yeah.
long.
They absolutely will. And, you know, I've got, you know, I talked to a lot of former Gibbs players. I got a lot of them that come up and have been working out with us. And, you know, they're well pleased with how their school's doing, how they've come on in this second half, and making that big adjustment moving up a level of play.
And I think for this game, though, it's like Coach Price talked about in the selection show the other day, you've got to get Nick Bailey some help. I think he had
Oh, yeah.
17
Mhm.
tackles in that game, and
Right.
15 of them were stolen.
He's all over the place.
So, I mean, that defensive line is going to have to step up and close
This
those
is
holes.
this is a game where, because of the nature of the option, that dive play, this is the game where Christian Monday has a chance to be just this Godzilla-like monster in the middle
Yeah.
Yeah.
and just smash.
Well, you know,
Their dive game.
you was on the sidelines with me down there, and I've never seen Matt Price more aggravated than he was at his defensive line. He
Yeah.
was the whole game, and especially the second half, he was challenging them to play up. Come on, wake up, you know. But for some reason, our defensive line was getting taken out of that offense.
You know, it's kind of an easy offense to scheme your blocking with. We ran it at Jacksboro the very last year I coached there. And once you know that the dive has been taken away, I mean, you just kind of seal that line off and make that lane.
Right.
That's all you have to do with it.
But that's where your linebackers come in then,
Mm-hmm.
and your corners have to come up.
And that's
They're probably
where,
not going to throw the ball.
No. I mean, they didn't against Central. They didn't throw a single pass.
yeah, they only threw a few against us, and that's because they were
They were
down.
down.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah. never does.
they'd hit the desperate portion of the game for an
Yeah.
option team.
But at the same time, you've got to look at not only the defensive side of the ball for us, but the offensive side. I know Ethan Jeffers took a few late hits
Mm-hmm.
in that game against Gibbs. I guess Gustavo had a couple there too that he got hit pretty good.
Right.
You got to watch those guys because you definitely don't want Jeffers getting hurt going
Right.
into this.
No,
playoff
and
season.
you know, Ethan came up shaky that one hit at Powell. I mean, we were all right. You know, we were there. It kind of looked like ooh,
Yeah.
you know. But you know, much credit to Matt, the trainer. He does a good job preparing them, getting them past those injuries through the week.
Oh, yeah. So now, in this game, who you guys picking?
I've got Campbell County by 14.
I've got Campbell County by the same margin, if not more, because I think they're going to come out and they're going to strike fast. I mean, they want
Yeah.
that first playoff win. And school, like I said, team of first,
Honestly,
they want another first.
The biggest thing here is we really need to win the toss, get the ball, set that tone early, and make them play from behind the whole game.
And you know what, too, though? Since we're playing at home, I think one of the biggest things is going to be the crowd noise. You know, we have to deal with it down there.
Yeah.
Now, these guys have to come up here in a bigger stadium, and they've got to deal with their
I
crowd
was
noise.
going to say, we were all at Gibbs.
Right.
That stadium, and I realize that they've always been in a smaller division. That's by far the smallest stadium, 5A, I've been
Oh,
to
it's
ever.
tiny.
And, you know, I mean, I covered when we were in the other district. Granted, we were playing just monstrously huge teams then, like DB, Science Hill, Jeff County, Sevier County. I've never seen a five. Even Carnes has a bigger stadium. Previously, Carnes was that stadium. I was like, this is a 5A school.
Yeah.
The only thing that worries me about fan base is that it's on that pilot playoff Friday
Mhm.
show. So how many fans are going to stay at home and watch it from the couch instead of going
Well,
out and
like the Anderson County,
I don't know. I think they'll be there.
like when
If for
we
nothing
played
else,
down
it's see us
there.
on the sidelines aren't good.
Absolutely. And also, this year, of course, with Channel 10, they had trouble and it wasn't on TV anyway.
You said that.
But I actually heard folks say, I'm not going to the game, it's going to be on TV.
Well, they're going to be there. I believe they're going to be there.
Now, I think in this case, this, I've been to Campbell County's only other home playoff game. And to me, it still seemed like the biggest crowd.
yeah.
It really did. I mean, granted with the AC game, we had portable bleachers set up. We had, a lot of people standing along the fence. But that home Farragut game, it felt like you had to fight your way from the field to the press box. I mean, it was
Yeah.
elbow to elbow there.
But that could have been because of Farragut's band. too.
Farragut does have a massive band.
Yeah, they bring a bunch. They got more band members, I think, than they have fans.
I think they do.
Yeah.
That's could be the truth.
They do. They have a massive band, but the novelty of it being the first home playoff game in years, only the fourth playoff game in general, and I hope it becomes the standard. Like, ooh, it's a playoff game. We got to go to the high school
Yeah.
Right.
instead of it being, oh, it's a playoff game. We got to go check this out. This doesn't happen often.
But I think the fans will still want to be there because, this is the culmination of a historic season, and they can say that they were a part of it.
I think this thing is just starting at Campbell County too. When you look at this
Oh, I know it
freshman
is.
class we've got now and the middle schoolers we have, I think
Yeah.
this is going to be a
And
big thing.
here's another thing to look at too, as far as what I think the crowd will be like. Look how full that visiting section was Friday night
Oh, yeah.
against Powell. That's maybe the best I've ever seen Campbell County travel, ever.
I think we probably outnumbered Powell in that game.
I think we
Yeah,
did,
it's
especially
close.
especially
It's
after the
close.
senior night festivities were over.
Yeah.
Because they had a decent crowd, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, where's their crowd?
But that's the way Gibbs was. That's the way Hall
Well,
was.
yeah.
I asked the coach the other day, I said, Coach, I've not kept any stats on this. I said, but how many homecomings have you wrecked this year? How many senior nights have you wrecked this year? He's wrecked them every one.
Yeah.
So you guys like Campbell County. Of
Absolutely.
course, I do too. And you like Anderson County in the first game. You like Oak Ridge to come out of Chattanooga.
Mhm.
I think that'll be the biggest toss up for me is that game because that's going
It's
to be
scary, ain't it?
Yeah, that's going to be an iffy game. I think.
Yeah. So it's going to be a toss-up for you, and you think you like Oak Ridge.
I like Oak Ridge, yeah.
I'm going to pick Oak Ridge because they're, in our district and everything.
Honestly, if they were playing a different Chattanooga area team, if they were playing Ooltewah, I'd probably go Ooltewah.
Oh,
If
yeah.
they're playing East Hamilton, I think
Right.
Oak Ridge beats East Hamilton.
Okay. So you like Oak Ridge.
Yeah, Joe Gaddis is a fantastic
Oh, he's
coach,
awesome.
and that program. It's hard to say that Oak Ridge is going to be a program on the rise, but they are.
Yeah. Well, they're going to come back up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just for nothing else for Gaddis being
I
there.
think that'll be one of our biggest games next year. Is the,
Yeah.
the Anderson County or not Anderson
The Oak
County,
Ridge
game. Yeah.
Right. That's right. Okay, so now, guys, let's talk a little bit before we go about what you guys are working on right now. For the press, what are you working on right now at the Folly Press?
As far
Or
as
have you-
sports wise, or
Yeah, sports rights.
uh,
No, health and lawn and garden.
Well, I didn't know if you were talking about the other situation we had.
No.
But, no, I mean I'm just looking forward to basketball season right now, I
Yeah.
guess. But
Of course, you was at the game the other
importantly,
night.
yeah, more importantly, looking far into this bracket. I hope. So I hope
Yeah.
we get to go a little deeper.
Yeah, they should do all right, and especially once all their football players get up there,
Yeah.
they'll have some size inside. But the other night, that game there, they just made they woke Justin up, and of course the kid from Jellicoe, they
Yeah.
woke him up, and he dropped 24 points on him. So
That Justin Bones is just
He's awesome.
phenomenal. I mean, when you go to watch Jellicoe play basketball, it's really a treat to see him play because he's all the time going down the lane, getting the and one. I mean,
Right.
he's just
He's
He
a
can change
he's the
the
smallest
momentum
kid on the
of the play.
court, and he'll fight for the rebound. It doesn't matter. He's tough. Of course, now what are you working on, Patrick?
Tomorrow.
Don't talk about that one story you
No,
talked about.
no. Tomorrow, I've got the coaching profile on Cody Parker that initially I was going to run last week, but last Friday was server maintenance day.
Yeah.
And I run those on Fridays when I do them. Next Monday, I'm going to interview Matt Housley about basketball season. And of course, the various football stuff that comes
Right.
along with it. Of course, your game report, your playoff
Right.
preview for the next week.
Of course, we all agree that Campbell County, we're going to be doing this story on them next week too.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
they'll
yeah.
probably play West. So
And that's another interesting game that they're playing.
have
My
you seen
good
the
buddy-
bracket, sir?
Oh yeah, my. I've mentioned it before. I was really hoping that we would wind up against Davy Crockett
Yeah.
because I still owe him one from my junior year of high school.
You got to let it go, Patrick. Let it
No, I
go.
don't let stuff go, David. You know that.
But you know, there was one thing you said there, Cody Parker, and I know that we've all talked about Justin Matt Price, but the other coaching staff there is.
Oh, they're awesome.
They get on me because I don't put their picture in the paper, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason Sweeney was all over me one night. He said, I've not seen one picture on CougarsRock.net. Well, I made sure that I set my camera on sports where it goes snap, 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 snap. And I got on the sidelines and I said, okay, fat boy. And I started pointing at him and I just shouted. I said, you got about 16 pictures on CougarsRock.net. Go get them.
And he was on the cover of the sports section. Of the
Yeah, I saw him this morning.
But, you know, and they've all done a great job. But Justin, he's done a great job of picking these guys out.
Well, I mean,
Getting his staff together.
you
These
got to
guys-
start at the top with it with Justin and Matt.
Right.
I mean, they're one for the most part.
1 and 1A.
But yeah, the way they've built that, just that coaching pyramid they have, they've got a couple proven longtime coaches in Sweeney and Coach Turner.
Mm-hmm.
You got some young guns and your Cody Parker and your Cody Seaver.
Right. We call him Smell You Later, Seaver.
Then of course you got Josh James, who has probably
He's one of the brightest offensive minds.
right. He's got he's got a little bit of varied experience as far as the coaching staff goes. He was with Wales,
Right.
then he was with Parker at La Follette, and now he's
Right.
up here. And he's got one of the hardest working men in the local sports team, and Cody Parker both
Yeah.
having to coach football and basketball.
And I think it's impressive how many Campbell County alumni we have on that staff. I mean,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Justin and Matt went there. Josh James
Right.
went
Danny
there.
Berry went there.
All those guys went to Campbell County, so they know what it's about.
Yeah, to me that's important. If you don't know the football culture that's been there in the past, how are you going to change it for the positive?
Right.
You can't just go and say, I'm going to make everything better.
Right.
You have to know.
You got to know what didn't work.
Yeah, you have to know where we started at, where we were.
Well, you got to know
10
where we
years
are.
ago. Yeah.
Too. You got to know the situation that you're
Yeah.
going into too.
I mean, and you look at 13 years ago now when Wells took over, that program was at a low ebb.
Mhm.
I mean, big time. And
So he had a lot to work with.
Wells, and of course, he's in the playoffs too. I want to give Coach Wells a shout out. I always got along great with Coach Wells, coached Philip and Steven, his sons. He took that team and he built the foundation, and then Matt and Justin come in and just built on
Oh yeah.
it well. They have.
I mean, you just think 3 short years, and I mean
2.5.
Right.
And-
They didn't
and
even
you
get to
gotta
have
look-
that. Their first spring practice was held by Johnny Bruce and a bunch of middle school
Right.
coaches.
I remember
of
the Orange
crazy
Blue
minor
game. out there in the mud.
situation.
And you've got to look at it. If they win Friday night, that's the first ever coaches to have a winning record through 30 games.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Ain't that
So
something?
they'll be 16 and 15 if they win
Yeah,
Friday night.
And the first ever playoff win.
Yeah.
So that's two
And that's
firsts.
just big.
All righty. Well, all right, guys. Well, looks like we've talked enough about playoff football. So now, Patrick, now if they want to read some of your articles, where do they go?
Just go to www.volunteertimes.com, or if you're friends with me on Facebook, I'll link pretty much everything I
You
write.
see, you're just asking for trouble. He's on Twitter too, folks.
See, I am on Twitter too. You got to be a little bit braver to follow me on Twitter. I'm a little more raw on there.
I follow him on Twitter. So now, Chris, of course, the Lafayette Press
Every
is online.
Thursday. You can find us on Thursday, and then we have our website, www.lafayettepress.com. We also have a Facebook page, and we have a Twitter, the L Press Sports at twitter.com. You can follow us on Friday nights when we do game updates and things like that.
Yeah, you do that. You guys both do the game updates while you're on the sidelines. I know
Yeah.
you're just down here doing all this, and I'm over it. Well,
Too much stuff to do at one time.
Yeah.
I think.
yeah.
And I actually have a bunch of people that just personally text me during the game. I'm like, guys, I'm trying to work here. So I've got a mass text group now and they're almost every one of them are people that played football with Matt and Justin.
Yeah.
But
they want to know what's going on up at Campbell County.
And they're spread out. I mean, there's some in Alabama, some in Middle Tennessee. I think one in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
So,
But you know, one more thing though, and that's funny you said that. I was talking to a guy from Oak Ridge on the sidelines here, and you know, we were talking about the media and all this stuff, and you know, certain programs getting attention and everything. And he said, "Well, I'll tell you something, David." He said, "All the stations in Knoxville, and this is kind of like mid-season." He said, "Campbell County is the story that they can't get enough of." He said, "They want to know what's going on up here. What has these two young coaches done to turn this program around in 2.5 years?"
mhm.
He said, and everybody's wanting us to come to this high school, come to that high school. You know, we're the same as Campbell County. But the thing is, Campbell County turned their situation around so quick, and they've had a storybook season.
Yeah, I mean, literally from almost 40 years of one winning season at
Right.
Wells. Coach Wells had the one
Yeah.
winning season. And I said, the Halls game, you pick any Halls game that Matt and Justin have coached, you pick any of those Halls games, and they've outscored the team my senior year of high school in that game.
Yeah.
That game that year, Campbell County put up, I think, 35 points all year.
Yeah.
You know, my junior year, Todd Helton rolled into town and beat us 72-0.
Right.
And when I look at it, what impresses me the most is how many 1-9 seasons that we have, 0-10, 2-8.
Yeah.
We can only finish with 2 losses this season.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what impresses me the biggest of all things.
That's it. That's it. And that's going to still, even, you know, what if we lose a playoff game, we're going to wind up with 2 losses. Ain't that something?
Mhm. Well, everybody but one team in your division ends with a loss. I hope it ain't us this year.
Exactly.
I hope we
Don't
march.
get some people started.
I hope we march into lovely Cookeville, Tennessee, and tear the stadium down.
And win the football game too.
That too. Yeah.
All righty, fans. We're going to end with that. On behalf of Patrick Peebley and Chris Cannon, I'm David Graham. Thank you for being with us, and hope to see you at the game Friday night at El Hope Dawson Stadium. We'll see you later.